Hi, it's Stacy. Welcome back to It's Just Anxiety 23. Thought I'd pop on for a little bit before I go to bed. Had a nice day. Did some running around, cleaned the house, talked to my children. It's always nice when we have time to our adults. They have busy schedules. My teenager is just, you know, I'm close with all my kids. I'm very grateful for that. One's calling right now, and he's going to have to wait because I already had to stop recording for the older one. But I am very grateful for my children. They have turned out unbelievably well, and that is in spite of, their father and I always loved them, and we never abused them. He and I, we had our arguments, through the years that most certainly, the yelling, I'm sure, wasn't helpful to the children. And, I had anxiety, hence why I named the channel that. And I couldn't really, he would trigger the anxiety would get really bad. And I apologize, the dog's barking, my mother just got home. He should stop. But I finally found a place in the basement I could get away from all the TV and the running water. Then the furnace kicked on and now the dog's barking. But, I try to look at the positive side. My mom's home safe. She's elderly. She's in her 80s. She's almost blind. She's a retired teacher, so she's lived an active life, and, she's on the go quite a bit. She enjoys going to the casino. Like I said, we live in Metro Detroit, so we're not far from, to get downtown is not, about a 20-minute drive, depending on traffic. Could take much longer, but, in ideal circumstances, we're not that far. When my grandma was alive, and she passed away, and right after she turned 94, she fell taking out her own trash on her 94th birthday, broke her arm in her garage, had to crawl in the house, up the couple little stairs into the kitchen, to the phone to call my mother, to take her to the kitchen, call that generation, call an ambulance. She got to the hospital. She was like, just put me to sleep because I don't want to live without an arm, and I don't want to live if I can't drive. And they're like, ma'am, we can't put you to sleep. You're not an animal. But she was a big supporter of Dr. Kevorkian in a sense that if, you were elderly, she's been healthy her whole life, and, she was still driving and in the right lane slowly, and she only drove to Wendy's and home. She didn't go far. It had been a long time since she drove on the freeway, but it's kind of about like knowing what you can and cannot do, but she golfed until she was in her 90s. Then her vision got to be too much of a problem. But my mom has a cousin that's 99. She's has the same eye condition my mom has. She's almost completely blind, but her husband passed away, I think, 2 years ago at 99, or he's just under 100, but when he was 97, they got a new floor, had Lowe's put it in, and then said, no, we don't like it, and he ripped the floor out himself, bought new flooring, and put it in at 96 or 5 or 6. Like, I would like to have that energy and that health and the knowledge to do that now. I mean, I look at people that do that, and I think it's amazing, because I'm nitpicky. It's like, well, and if I know where the little misalignment is, I'll, like, and I like to paint, I like to, mix things up. But if I know where I had a problem transitioning, like, to the ceiling paint, or if I'm using Kills in the bathroom, like, in the shower, but not over another area, or I'm trying to do something to help with the lighting in there, put like a white ceiling and try to help, and then you can see where the dark paint is, and I know where it overlaps, and nobody else knows, but I know, and it drives me crazy. That's the kind of personality I have. It's just a weird nitpicky. So, there were times, obviously, when I was younger, and I've always been reflective, but I was more reflective on what others did wrong instead of what I did wrong. Parenthood, I think, becoming a mother. I had parents that kind of, in a lot of ways, didn't admit they were wrong very often. I was an only child. My parents were 35, but I was adopted. They were born in 1942, graduated from high school in 1960, graduated from college in 64, got married in 65, and started teaching. So they were very old-fashioned, and I was very rebellious and very insecure. So I made for a wild teenager. I met my husband when I was, I started seeing my husband while I was in high school, but I'd known his sister, so I had known him. I saw a picture of him when I was like 8 years old, and he's like 6 years old, 5 years older, 5.5 years older than me. But I saw a picture of him when he was standing up at a wedding when he was, I think, like 14. And, you know, we look at that photo and laugh right now. It's like, look at my goofy little beginning mustache. But, you know, really, we laughed, but I saw a photo of him and I was like, I'm going to marry him. And my mother-in-law laughed and she's like, honey, he's too old for you. Well, yeah, at the time. And then we ran into each other when I was 17 and started hanging out and ended up being best friends and, you know, true love. Not without difficulty. Cinderella, it doesn't end at the ball. Doesn't end, it might end happily ever after, but it's certainly not stress-free ever after. It's certainly not financial security ever after. It's certainly not peace and harmony ever after. And learning how to manage that stress. You know, I drank a lot when I was younger. I had my son, I had my daughter. I quit, I was a lifelong smoker. I quit, I'm still vaping, but I quit cigarette smoke for vaping back in August. It's an improvement. I don't smoke nearly as much. I was almost a 2-pack-a-day smoker, so hopefully, you know, we won't find out. This is 800 times worse in the long run, but, you know, we'll see. But I haven't drank in like 4 years. It's been a long time. I really haven't drank since I was baptized. And then before that, I barely drank for a couple of years. I just prayed constantly. I couldn't stop. I couldn't control it. And thank God, God just took the urge to drink away. And even when I go to restaurants, I'm blessed because I was a bartender. I like to look at the drink menu. And I'm like, God, I wish one of my kids was, well, 2 of them are 21 now, but it's like, God, I wish one of you guys would order that so I can have one sip of it and that's it. And then I'll be like, if that didn't have alcohol, it tastes really good. You know, I don't enjoy it at all. And I thank God I don't miss the hangovers. I don't miss waking up and the headache and the nausea and the dry mouth. That dry mouth, and you know, bad enough as it is. But I had injured my back shortly after returning to work after I had my daughter. So my oldest two are 12 months apart. So I had my son, I had surgery, I got off narcotics, I got pregnant with my daughter that month, and then had both of them premature. Noah very premature, 6 weeks, which is premature enough to be in the NICU for a week, but they thought he was going to be in for, they usually say 2 weeks in for 1 week, or for every 1 week in utero is 2 weeks out. So if he was 6 weeks early, they'd estimate 12 weeks in the NICU. Thank God he wasn't in the NICU 12 days. God blessed us, he was only in for 5. And that was horrible enough. And God bless any parents that have sick children or sick babies. And that's a horrible thing as a mother because you feel so guilty. I can't speak for other mothers, so let me speak for myself. I felt so guilty, as if my body couldn't provide for him. And my oldest son's just letting me know my youngest son is subscribed to eChecked. So they know how to do that stuff. They're all tech savvy. But yeah. No, you do feel terrible, so I do, my heart goes out, and my thoughts and prayers go out to any and all sick children, and I pray that they recover, and I pray their parents get some peace from God, because I know that, it is passing. The anxiety of having a sick child must be horrific. It must be horrific. I get anxiety if, my car payment's late. I get anxiety if I'm stuck at the train and I have to pee. I'm an anxious kind of person. That's why I started the channel. It helps me, give me something to think about, something to focus about. kind of something to talk about and give my rambling thoughts an audience. But I don't know. Why did I start the channel? I started the channel hopefully to have enough subscribers to be able to go live and talk to people who are interested to answer questions about how did I survive 2 miscarriages, how did I survive being discharged emotionally, when I was discharged from the hospital, my son wasn't, and you feel that like you're being ripped, like your baby's being ripped away from you because you can't stay there any longer. You have to go, but your baby can't go with you, and it's a horrific feeling. And I did miscarry twice, so I know I mean, I didn't lose the baby that I went to term with, but pregnancies that I thought were fine, I did end up losing, and that was, it was horrible. It was very hard, and it certainly did not help the drinking, because I quit drinking when I was trying to get pregnant, and I quit smoking as soon as I got pregnant. Other than that, I smoked from the time I was about 10. I used to sneak. My dad was he was a very regimented smoker. He smoked only after meals, so 3 times a day. So I could steal like an occasional cigarette, but my aunt was a much heavier smoker, so we could steal a couple from her, and my cousin was always good for stealing a couple from her, and she and I had the same birth date, and we were both adopted. So I think she always knew and kind of turned a blind eye to it, because I used to come home from school all the time, throw up all the time. I'm having a similar issue with my youngest son. I know mine was anxiety. I was bullied, and not horrifically compared to some of the stories you hear about, but it certainly made my life unpleasant. Being one of the tallest kids in the class because I hit puberty young, and having acne, and now I'm only 5'2.5", so like I'm not tall now, and I'm happy about that. But in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, when you're that tall and you have acne and you're heavy because you're hitting puberty, and I was heavier to begin with anyway, so I got a lot of fat jokes and stuff aimed at me, and and my mom was a teacher in the district, so it only went so far, but, I had older kids that stood up for me. People my age could be a little bit vicious. Like I said, it wasn't as bad as, like, you see on TV, but I certainly can understand, and I can get a little overreactive when I think someone's bullying my child. Don't pick on my children. It's not you will see the very not nice side of my personality crop up, and I try to keep this, we all have that part of ourselves, and I try to not let that part of myself out in public, or at home. I try to, if nothing else, say nothing. If I have nothing to say, I'll, bite my tongue till it bleeds. If I have to storm out of a place, leave them a nasty Google comment. Like there's a pharmacy that was not only horrific to me, and I left, and they were nasty, they lied. They just did the same thing to my neighbor across the street, who's a 78-year-old woman, who died and turned pharmacists into doctors, and they decide what the doctors should be prescribing when they don't know the medical history, and the doctors do. Medication coming from specialists. I think I mentioned it in another video, so I won't go on a rant about here. But that kind of stuff gets my anxiety going. And I wanted to reach over the counter and strangle that woman because, basically she's telling me she knows more than my specialist, and I have no rights as a human being or rights under the law. The prescription was literally faxed, like emailed, however that system works, like through, like from the doctor's office, from the specialist's office to the pharmacy. It's not like I walked in with a prescription for it where it was like altered or it was in my pocket and it was all wrinkled. No, this was sent from the doctor to, she knows where it came from. So same thing with my neighbors. So it's not like a mistake on our part or a mistake on our doctor's office's part. No, and it was the same pharmacist, same pharmacy. And my poor neighbor, she was a single woman, felt bad for her. But anyway, I think that's about all I really have on my mind right now. I could talk forever, but I'm sure most people don't want to listen to me rant and rave. But no, I'm just kind of putting experiences of that I lived through, and it hasn't been sunshine and roses. You know, there's been a lot of death and sadness and heartache and pain, but there's been a lot of love and joy and happiness, and I'm grateful that I have gotten to a place where I can look on the bright side and be grateful for the fact that I can sit here and put up a video and a few people are going to watch it. And I'll probably get some comments that are like, you're stupid, and that's okay. Probably get a couple of comments, you talk too much. That's fine, you don't need to listen. But if you do want to listen, please send me some questions that I can answer. Give me some topic ideas. Like I said, I went to school for social work, so I have a background in psychology, sociology, anthropology. I like cultures, I like people. So I said I don't really want to talk about politics. I'm more interested in dynamics of people, and why people think the way they do and act the way they do, and how can we better interact as people, how can we better interact with each other, because sadly most people are in their phone all day long and they're too busy looking at that to actually learn how to communicate and look someone in the eye. Because if you're not looking someone in the face, if you're looking at a screen, you can't tell. Maybe that person's really had a bad day and they're stressed out, and simply saying, how are you okay, you seem a little stressed, everything okay? Even if they say no, I need a break, I'm at my wit's end, you can always say, I'm so sorry to hear that, I wish there was something I could do to help. Even if you can't, like even if it's at a 7-Eleven and you're running in to get gas, that might make that person, you know, that might echo through eternity. You never know. You never know what a few kind words, even if you don't have a lot of time, what that can do for someone. So thank you for watching. Please hit the like. Please share this out if you enjoy it. Please subscribe. Like I said, please give me some topic ideas, some questions, anything like that, that'll give me some ability to focus before I have the ability to go live. I need 50 people to subscribe before YouTube lets me go live to where I can actually interact with people, which is what I really came on here to do. So please, oh please, oh please, like, share, and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and have a good evening. Thank you.